everybody, welcome or welcome back to the TCS podcast. It's been a while. My name is Nanna, you can call me Nan, and I'm here to give you an energetic update for August, but it's gonna be more focused on the Lionsgate. Now, if you are into spirituality, I really doubt that you have missed the Lionsgate. It's a special moment, but it's not a once in a lifetime kind of thing because it does happen every year on August 8th. So, what I do get is that the energy of the Lionsgate will stretch out over all of August. So, even though we're going to talk about the Lionsgate, know that the energy does apply to the rest of the month. And if I would get anything else that I would like to add, I'm going to do another podcast on that later on in the month. So, how about we start with what is even the Lionsgate? So, the Lionsgate is when the Earth, the Sun, and Sirius, so our brightest star in the sky, are aligned. And that is a really special moment astrologically and in a lot of old cultures. I think even the Egyptians, I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on this, look it up. Sirius was really a special star. It's what we would call our spiritual sun. The way I interpret it is almost like a etheric component to our actual sun. And what happens then is that it kind of opens this cosmic portal of a lot of light information. So we can start like this. We humans, we have a really, really special thing called ego, and which is essential to be a human. But we do kind of feel that, we are the center of the universe, but many times we're not the center of the universe. We're part of the universe, but we're not necessarily the center of the universe, in my humble opinion. So when Sirius, the Sun, and Earth align, it's actually a lot about the Earth's evolution and ascension and spiritual growth. So it's the Earth kind of becoming more and evolving, and it does receive a lot of light. So if we're on an energy sensitive path, and we are energy sensitive, we can definitely feel this input of light. It almost feels sometimes, in my experience at least, and I do think if you're sensitive, especially like with your body, you can sense energy in your body. The borders of our body kind of start to not disintegrate, but you can almost feel. I don't want to say out of body because out of body is a different kind of feeling, but it's almost like my arm ends here, but all of a sudden it doesn't end there. It becomes more. It becomes kind of like in tune with the rest of the environment. So you can feel a lot of physical oneness, so to say, which can feel a little weird, definitely, especially if you're maybe just getting started on a spiritual journey. It can definitely feel a little wonky. But so it's an opportunity for us to evolve with the earth, and to evolve with the earth, we have to evolve with ourselves. So again, like July, it's a big focus on the heart. The sun is in Leo. Leo is a wonderful sign that's really connected to our heart chakras. And it's this childlike energy, but also big, expansive, and this leader. So it's about tapping into the leader within us, specifically where we feel that we are victims, but we do not see our own choices leading up to certain situations. And the focus here is a lot about regaining that power. So there are times in our lives which we will have to differentiate between us actually being victims of something and where we ourselves, not consciously but unconsciously, put ourselves in situations where we get to blame someone or something. Having a victim mentality, which we all do sometimes, so this is not to point fingers, it's human. We do that. We live in a world where we go by punishment and reward. We love to blame. We love to kind of, rid ourselves of the blame, and then, hopefully the problem can be solved somewhere else. But the problem with doing that is that as we give the blame to someone or something, we also give away our own power. So that means that, okay, you're to blame, but I give you my power, then you have that effect on me. So a lot of situations will come up where we do feel disempowered. And it's a great time for manifestation. So manifestations cannot really happen unless we see our own power in it and the choices we have. It's so easy when we go into a victim mentality where we feel really small, we feel really disempowered, to be so narrow-minded. We see only things that confirm what we already feel. Even though we have a lot of alternatives to look at, we again choose unconsciously not to look at it because it becomes uncomfortable. So it's a big time to take accountability for our own manifestations, our own dreams and goals, and why aren't we going towards them unapologetically? What in us feels like there's always this external block? We always talk about these external blocks, but again, being empowered is to remember that it's within us. No matter what we experience out here, it's a reflection of something that is going on in us. So if we do experience a block, how about we look at it from a really responsible point of view, where looking at it objectively and being curious about it can make us see different choices that we either could have made or can actually make. And that way we can take the perceived failure and the block, and we can add to our own expansion with it. So it's a lot of trial and error, for sure. Life isn't really a straight road, as I'm sure we've all noticed. What goes up must come down. But again, going through hardship and being accountable for things and allowing ourselves to feel feelings and get through that time and learn something from it is very different from constantly finding ways where we are victims. It's really comfortable to do that sometimes, especially if we are not empowered. Now, again, a practical example can be like, okay, maybe when I was a child, this particular situation, I was an actual victim and I didn't really have the power, because where would I go? What was I going to do? I'm a child. But today, if we do experience a block, since we have these old beliefs that always play. And even though we are adults and we do have power, we always have power. We have power of children too, but that's a different kind of story. It's a different construct when we're kids. So where we're now adults and we do have that power, why do we not use it? Or why are we making choices that constantly lead to additional blocks? What in us is so scared of actually pursuing our goals? So diving deep into things that are standing in the way of our power. And how is it serving us? Because every time in life when we do something, no matter how crazy it looks or how much suffering it is, there's something we're gaining from it in some way. And again, like I said in the podcast with me and Trevor, I'm not talking about collective suffering in the world, like war and poverty and all of that. That's a whole different kind of spiritual perspective on that. I'm talking about these everyday lives where we do have the privilege to make different kind of choices. We have more choices and easier choices compared to, let's say, somebody in a war, or somebody in poverty, or things like that. So when we do experience a block, how is it serving us? How is this block actually serving us? How is us feeling like a victim in situations, or not being able to pursue our goals, or not be able to be who we are? How does that serve us? Because looking at that and looking at how it serves us, it also puts us into this, oh, wait a minute, okay, so I'm choosing this. On some level, I am choosing this, which does mean if there's a choice here, there must be another choice. So doing that will definitely open our minds. And with a big influx of energy, of light, which, what is light? Easily put, light is information. Lack of light is lack of information. Light is information. So there will be a lot of information coming to us, and sometimes it's going to feel really hard to keep up, and it's going to feel hard to plan ahead too much. But that is, again, for us to stop at like a crossroad and look at the different roads we have. And also look at if we have been doing something in the same way and it hasn't given us the results we want. It's really important that we're courageous enough to look at what isn't working, and are there other ways of doing this? Are there other ways to reach our goals, for example? Some of us might feel like the things that we used to like, or the things that we thought were our goals, have actually changed or are starting to change. We can feel a little disorienting in and of itself too, but remember that we're evolving beings. Every second is an evolution in our little subjective universe here as a person. And when the Earth has these moments where it does evolve a little more, which it does on Lionsgate, it accelerates our own growth. So it can feel sometimes like we're like struggling to catch on to things, and that's perfectly normal. So if we feel a little disoriented, it's definitely due to the energy. While June was a great month to write, this is not necessarily a month to write just for writing's sake, but it could be a good idea practically to write things down so we structure the disorienting energy a little bit, if that helps. Compassion is always a key opponent, I want to say. Leo is a big heart energy, and having power, true power, doesn't mean that we take away someone else's power. If we truly feel empowered, I don't have a need to hurt someone else, or to manipulate someone else, or in some way assert domination or power over someone else. That is someone, if someone does that, it's a very disempowered person. Again, they're really careful with saying there isn't really a disempowerment. It's the perceived disempowerment. So if we are a person that, I mean, we're all guilty of this at some point, but there are some of us that definitely assert domination and power over others more than others. We're definitely going to be called to look at those patterns and those behaviors and how we can take our power back. Because even asserting power over someone else in a negative way, not if you're like a leader or a boss or something and you're doing a good job, I mean, it's a different type of power there. But asserting power in a really negative way, where it's actually, it's not serving anyone, but you feel like it's serving you. But I'm also one thing to say that if we're doing something that's not serving someone else, but it is serving us, in essence, it's not serving either. It's a zero-sum, I think they call it, situation, and it's never going to get us the results we want. So if we are that kind of person asserting power over someone else, we're going to be really put in uncomfortable situations where we have to look at that, and we have to look at the beliefs and emotions and, you know, a lot of times traumas and patterns behind that behavior, which is not easy, and it does take a lot of courage. So it's definitely a time to be courageous. If we lived a life where we always blamed someone, or we can always get away with, oh, that wasn't meant for me, or other type of people succeed, why would I succeed, or who's gonna listen to me if I do that, or who's gonna this, or we have these kind of we have this mindset where success is for someone else and poor me, that's never gonna happen. We really need to look at that. So being brave is essential, because it can feel a little bit like, if we haven't used our legs for years and all of a sudden we have to stand on our legs, it's going to be a little wobbly. It takes time for those muscles to work, to strengthen. And trying to kind of, when we see the choices we have in life, even if we make a choice that maybe necessarily doesn't really lead us to where we want, at least seeing and knowing that it's a choice we made is automatically empowering. It's us using our power with our self-awareness, and that is still a part of us evolving. So a lot of information, a lot of light. If we do have some ailments, physical ailments, they definitely might feel a little more painful around the Lionsgate, because our body's really sensitive, really energy sensitive. It picks up on these subtle cues that our mind doesn't always do, because our mind is designed to always be productive and think ahead in a way, while our body is present in the moment. So yeah, definitely a lot more energy coming in, which does mean that the body will act out a little bit. Wisdom is another thing. We're going to have a lot of like aha moments filled with wisdom. That's also very encouraged to write down in some way and try to remember later on. Reassess goals. It's always okay to change our minds. Again, it's that kind of theme of choices. It's always okay to change our minds. We can do things differently. It's fine if we want to change something. Change is constant. It is what it is. Even if it's little changes, it's always constant. So just because we liked something and did a certain way before, we're called to be brave this month around the Lionsgate, to look at new interests, new hobbies, new way of seeing things. How can we expand our work? How can we expand our creativity? And sometimes when we change things, we have a big idea, like, you leave something behind and you start something new. But sometimes change can be actually incorporating what was old with the new. So we create something totally different. So it's definitely like an add-on instead of abandoning and starting something new. Hope that makes sense. It's definitely a great month for those of us that work with children. Leo is definitely in the house of children. So let children teach us things. Children are really great with, let me rephrase this. If it's a healthy child that lives in a somewhat healthy home, that hasn't been through too much trauma yet, or if we look at children, they have an amazing ability to unapologetically be themselves. And they are so cool and quirky, and they're so different, but they still get along with each other most of the time, and they let each other be themselves. That is such an empowering thing to do. So if we can let something or someone teach us something this month, it's definitely children. When we grow up, we succumb to these societal standards. And like I said in the beginning, society is built up on victims, perpetrators, and there's this blame game. And again, I need to harp on, there are actual victims and there are perpetrators. Sometimes we're in one role, sometimes we're in another role. But this month isn't really about that. This month is really about seeing where we unconsciously go into a victim mode to not have to take accountability and not have to work towards our own goals. So it's a month of becoming more. with all this information and all this light and Earth evolving, it's about a month of absolute growth. And the best gift we can give this world is just us being ourselves. Being ourselves unapologetically is a beautiful thing. And when we're not doing that, we are robbing the world of that gift, whether it feels like it or not. I can feel that that's it. I can feel that I'm done. I feel like that is what Spirit wanted to bring. I hope it gives you some clarity. And if the energy is a little, know that it's perfectly normal, depending on how sensitive you are and how you perceive those sensitivities. Good luck. I would love to know what your goals are. I would also love to know if you noticed in the past time that you've changed, that your interests have changed. Do you get any aha moments from watching this where you go like, oh my god, yes, I do make myself into a victim in this situation, or like, oh, maybe I'm not. So reassess. I would really love to know. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in another video where we either get some clarity or some other kind of message. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you. Bye.